An alleged Ubisoft employee or somebody connected directly to the company has come forward on this Facebook group called Sweet Baby Inc. and Journo's Detection Agency Volume 2 with some pretty scathing information about the company Ubisoft itself and what they are doing specifically to ruin their employees' livelihoods. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. If this is to be believed, and I want to be crystal clear about this, it is a rumor, allegedly, and anonymous. So for all we know, it could be somebody completely making everything up, and it's just completely fabricated for no reason except for a gotcha to people to cover it on this random Facebook group. But when you actually dive into the information and the details they give, it makes a lot of sense. And it's not a great look for Ubisoft in the direction that they're going. JT. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full exhaustive article going through all the information I could find from this anonymous leaker going on with the internal information at Ubisoft right now and how Ubisoft themselves have screwed their own employees by encouraging them to purchase stock options, many of who took out loans to purchase these stock options at very low, welcoming prices to just see the value of them crater over the next 5 years. Almost as if Ubisoft brass and board of directors knew what they were doing for a very long time. Ubisoft is once again under fire like crazy these days, and this time for very good reason. But now it's not just coming after the gamers, it's also coming from the insiders. In an anonymous Facebook comment thread, an alleged self-identified Ubisoft employee or someone connected directly to the company dropped a bombshell allegation about Ubisoft and what's happening behind closed doors at the French publishing giant. And again, this account is unconfirmed and anonymous. It still paints a devastating picture of betrayal, financial manipulation, and employee exploitation that, if true, could set a stage for a class action lawsuit and major reputational fallout for Ubisoft, as if they need any more of that happening these days. The anonymous poster claims that since 2015, Ubisoft had been encouraging employees to take stock shares in lieu of traditional bonuses, offering them at these so-called preferential prices. Many had reportedly poured their savings or even took out loans to buy into these prices, trusting that their investment would grow alongside the company that they helped build. Now, before I even go further, none of this is financial advice. It's just my own perspective of, look, if you got a company that's giving you some preferential treatment to buy stocks in, don't put your house on loan to buy additional stocks in this company, because that might not be a great outcome at the end of the day. On the Sweet Baby Inc. and Journo's Detection Agency Volume 2 Facebook page, the anonymous participant said, Ubisoft F's with their employees big time. Since 2015, most of them took their bonuses and invested their money in Ubi shares. That's hundreds of millions in shares. Now with the creation of the new entity, moving the most profitable IPs under it and opening the path for the old entity bankruptcy, their money is worth nothing. Most of them are bought for $30 per share. Sorry for the anon post. I'm under NDA. And that is, if it is true, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stock circling the drain, soon to be worth absolutely nothing, with the steps that Ubisoft just took to partner with Tencent and create a new entity and sail over all their profitable IPs over to that entity to let Ubisoft proper basically fall apart and collapse into itself because it's worth nothing and has a ton of debt. The employee goes on to say that many of the developers were required to hold on to their shares for 5 years, locked into them and making it impossible to exit their positions before Ubisoft stock even began the ongoing long slide that has been going down for the better part of the past 5 to 10 years. As of now, the shares are worth only a fraction of what the employees paid for them originally. Some people are reportedly down 85% or more on the stocks that they purchased years ago. And this anonymous person in the Facebook group replied to themselves and said, "We'll add some clarification. Instead of bonuses, game devs have annual bonuses, launch bonuses, and a percent from sales each quarter. The amount usually adds up to half yearly salary. Devs were offered stock shares at better prices. And that's, by the way, a felony considering it's an open traded company. That's insider trading. Most, if not all, took it. Most bought additional shares with their life savings or loans. They were holding it the past few years as the stock plummeted, waiting to improve. In best case scenario, they have their investment halved. Current state of things. At worst, UBI bankruptcy, their shares drop to pennies. While Ubisoft is lawyering up to keep their devs safe from harassment, they are screwing them big time to a point where the lawyers are actually prepared to keep the company safe from an employee lawsuit. So it's not necessarily that they're protecting the company against YouTubers now, but these lawyers are now supposedly protecting Ubisoft from their own employees. To make matters worse, this alleged whistleblower says that offering shares in lieu of bonuses, especially with the inside knowledge of the company's future direction, might have even crossed legal lines. Not that Ubisoft is a company that I'd personally trust to do things the right way anyways, but yikes. And while Ubisoft has been laser focused on lawyering up, implementing DEI policies and harassment crackdowns to sanitize their public image, this anonymous poster is suggesting that they've simultaneously been preparing legal defenses, not against outside threats, but instead against their own employees. And all this adds to the ongoing burning fire that is never ending with Ubisoft's recent move with Tencent. The new partnership that I covered previously has the two companies creating their own new entity, one that now controls the publisher's most profitable IPs, which, in effect, strips them from the original Ubisoft corporate body. And that has led to many people, including myself, speculating that Ubisoft is being gutted on purpose, potentially to declare bankruptcy, shed their debt that is in the billions, and escape the obligations that are, including their own devs and the stocks that were purchased over the years. Employees at Ubisoft see this happening right before their eyes and are powerless to stop it. If any of this is true, Ubisoft is preparing to let the original company die while transferring value to a new Tencent-backed shell company. This is a textbook corporate sleight of hand, and those holding the bag are the very people making the games in the first place. The employees at this point at Ubisoft most likely are the ones that will be not just holding the bag, but on the chopping block coming up once this merger acquisition goes through and they start consolidating what Ubisoft proper was, moving employees over to the new entity, and leaving the rest to falter. This all aligns perfectly with the previous rumors that Ubisoft could be facing upwards of 10,000 or more layoffs as part of their restructuring out of the current near 20,000 employee company that is Ubisoft. The anonymous source paints a bleak picture of morale inside the company right now, describing the staff as pissed and blindsided. And when one person asked why they didn't just cash out when they had the stock going up and everything was better, the anonymous poster said because those are normal people, not traders, and because greed. They've never seen the dip coming, and they had agreement not to sell for 5 years. At 2020, the stock was already dipping 30% of its original value. So if you had 10,000, you would have lost 1,500 on your investment. They got an average of a 15% discount. When the stock dipped 80% of its initial value, you have no other option but to hold until it goes up. Sure, it will go up. Don't worry about it. At this point, they have jack shit. Either sell at 15% of its value or lose money or just wait for bankruptcy and get effed. In my opinion, the recent bump in stock prices is exactly because people are taking little loss instead of the big incoming one and dumping those shares. And while this report is still very unconfirmed and could be just chalked up to someone pretending to be someone on the inside, reading this and lining it up with what's transpiring right now at Ubisoft leads me to believe that it is more likely than not something that is at least close to being accurate to how some employees at Ubisoft feel right now. If even part of it is true, it would signal the beginning of Ubisoft's final act to me, one where the devs who built the company's legacy over the past 30 years are left financially ruined, betrayed by a corporation that they originally trusted. If these allegations gain traction or are corroborated by additional international insiders, Ubisoft could be facing more than just bad press. It could be the start of a massive reckoning. Hell, the way things are going, I guess you could say that's already in full swing right now. I postulated on my stream the other night about how Ubisoft could be doing all of this as a way to get away from their debt. I don't know about the legalities, especially with international business law and Canada and China, but looking at Ubisoft for what it is right now, it is a corporation burdened with billions of dollars of debt and no escape from it. So if they are doing this, creating this new entity, putting Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six on this boat, this life raft, and pushing them away from the burning ship that is Ubisoft, letting that collapse onto itself and sink into the sea, while this safety raft is being provided by Tencent to float these properties away, it means that the stock value of Ubisoft is worthless, these employees are screwed, and the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been invested specifically from Ubisoft employees over the years is completely trashed. And the only people making out in the deal are the higher-ups, the people up top, as always with these golden parachutes and creating entities to make sure they're safe and their employees get screwed. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. More information is listed in the Smash JT article along with links, sources, screenshots, all the fun stuff. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
I am truly sorry to everyone who was hurt.
Smash J, smash J.